It's week 6, day 2 of the Hearthstone Global Games, and we have 5 more matches to bring to you today. Many teams looking at surviving just one more week to get into that top 16 bracket. Joining me is Lorinda. And Lorinda, it's a big day, isn't it?
It's a big day, just like yesterday was. One or two matches today, not quite so important as yesterday, to be absolutely 100% honest, but even so, a lot on the line for most of the teams playing today, and it is going to be interesting to see how it pans out, and interesting to see how the teams who feel like they've already qualified approach it too.
Yeah, I mean, to give you a better idea of what we're looking at for the next week, why don't we take a look at the standings for the Hearthstone Global Games so far. And there you go, yet to play on the right there. We have one team at 5-0, 4-4-1, and everyone else on 3-2, needing to win to even have a chance at qualifying.
Yeah, needing to win as well in that 4-1 bracket is going to be Bulgaria, because their tiebreakers are abysmal. If they lose, they are out. So that's actually an extra win and in that you're probably not expecting if you're just looking through the standings.
Norwegian player NTR has put together a nice little spreadsheet you can find on his Twitter, which can give you a better idea of which teams are safe, which teams are already through, which teams are desperate to get those better tiebreakers, and which teams are waiting for other teams to play so they can see what their tiebreakers are.
I think the conclusion was, we're all right.
The conclusion was, yeah.
That's all Norway wanted to know. Are they all right? They are through.
And I had a look, and it says Netherlands are safe as well, so I was pretty happy with that one for personal reasons.
Yeah, and Netherlands were one of the teams struggling a little bit on tiebreakers, but they are safe as well. So going to be interesting to see, and let's have a look at the schedule to see which other teams are in action today.
China versus Ukraine up first, and both teams are 4-1, so they're going to be wanting to get the win to secure their position. But then we have Belgium versus Spain. That's a big one. Czech versus Bulgaria, another big one, as you just mentioned. Then Brazil, Switzerland. Okay, Brazil, Switzerland are two of the best performing teams so far in the tournament, so they're not so bad. And Canada, Portugal playing at the end of the day. Yeah,
Portugal needing a win there. Canada, according to the spreadsheet, are already out, but they'll probably try and win anyway, just to make sure, in case there's any fluff-ups in the numbers. It has been known before.
Yeah, I mean, strange things can happen in Swiss. It's very, very complicated. That's why I rely on someone much more intelligent than me, like NTR, to put together the results. And I'm trusting him that they're correct. They should.
Yeah, NTR's a smart guy. I'm sure they are.
But the first game we have coming up today, as we just mentioned, is China versus Ukraine. Brazil's coming later on. Let's take a look at the players representing these teams. Lee, Trunks, Yulov, and Omega Zero from China have all been putting in great work this tournament so far, but facing off against them, Kalento, Insane, Nayria, and Old Boy. What an all-star lineup on both sides, Neil.
Yeah, I think that China this time around, I don't know if they didn't take it seriously or something last year. I think they did, but definitely proving their point that if anyone thought that last year, then they definitely have been doing incredibly well this year. And Ukraine already beaten Czech Republic twice, just not in the match that it mattered last year. And again, they're another team with a point to prove about how good they are.
Yeah, it's still a pretty big game. Again, I don't believe these teams are 100% safe just yet. And even if they are safe, they're still playing for seeding as we go into the top 16, and seeding can make a big difference.
Yeah, the seeding sometimes doesn't feel like it matters when you go, oh, but there's one or two teams. Yeah, there are one or two teams. There's going to be some teams like USA, if they go through, who will get a bad seeding and you don't want to play. But overall, the better teams have risen to the top, and the second-tier teams are going to be in the second tier, so you do want that seeding. And anyway, I don't think Nayria and Kalento like losing Hearthstone matches.
I don't think anyone really likes losing.
I love it.
Matches.
Years of practice.
Weird. Well, while we've been talking, the teams have been doing the picks and doing the bans. Let's take a look at them.
See, the first ban is the all-important one that sets the stall out for how you want to approach it. China have lost their Odd Warrior, and Ukraine having their Q block banned, which is an interesting ban. Justifies bringing it there and then, because you don't see much Q block at the moment.
Well, somebody even asked us in the community show on Monday, when do you think Q block will come back, or do you think Q block will come back? And yeah, it's still here, clearly, as the first banned deck from Ukraine. China losing Odd Warrior, though, this has been pretty standard over the last few days, and I don't think it's something anyone expected. Over the first couple weeks of HGG, before Boomsday came out, Warrior was considered arguably the worst class in the game, and now we're seeing Odd Warrior banned very often.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure about the caption there, but we will see, as both teams seem to have their Quest Rogue available, but that's not what our sheets say. So just bear with as well, one thing or the other goes slightly wrong here.
Let's take a look. Maybe the matchup schedule will clear things up to us. Well, this is very different from the notes that I had.
It is here too, so it's going to be
It's
Hunter.
also
It's not
Hunter Ace.
Hunter Ace has moved to China and is going to be on the quest rogue. I think this is from yesterday's Norway match,
Right.
to be perfectly honest.
We're just gonna take a minute as I'm prompted in my ear and informed something is wrong. We're just gonna take a moment, look pretty to the camera, and hope that production will sort everything out for us.
Yeah, that is just yesterday's slide. We will be fine. I can't look pretty for the camera, so I'm just going to talk instead.
Okay. According to my notes, the first match that we have coming up is China on the Shudderwock Shaman versus Ukraine on Death Rattle Hunter.
Yeah, Ava sorted us out with those, and she's normally spot on, so let's go with that for now.
And that matchup is very difficult for the Shudderwock Shaman. We talk about this a lot. Death Rattle Hunter, very good against control decks. Yeah, Shudderwock Shaman has a couple hexes to deal with those Death Rattles, but Death Rattle Hunter has a lot of Death Rattles.
Yeah, what do you think of Death Rattle Hunter? Is it a control deck? Is it an aggro deck? Is it a mid-range deck? Is it a mid-range deck, maybe? Yeah, exactly. It's this thing we're having with a lot of decks right now in the meta that they're very hard to define. I think this does fall as a mid-range deck because
it's a Death Rattle deck.
Great, thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
Death Rattle deck taking on a deck that is really good against control. So who knows what that means?
Yeah. I think mid-range is probably about the best outcome that we can give Death Rattle Hunter. It's terrible against the aggressive decks. It's great against the control decks. I don't know. It's about the best I've got. As it looks like we are jumping into game number 1. And yes, this is a Hunter. This is a Shaman. It looks like we got something right.
Yep, but it's definitely not Hunter Ace or Disday playing, but that looks a little bit more like Ties to me than it does Disday. But
No, silly. That's Kalento. How could you make that mistake?
yeah, I don't even know how that mistake could be made. Okay, Kalento it is for Ukraine. And China, I believe playing for China as he stalls for time is Lee, I'm pretty sure.
Did you recognise Lee from the Valera?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, Ava's wonderful notes are usually spot on, so we'll trust Ava and blame her if it's wrong, but she has been right every single time so far for the last 6 weeks.
Now, it has to be said, Kalento's hand is looking phenomenal here. He's got Keleseth, he's got Savannah Highmane, he's got Keleseth. Did I mention
I was going to say, I like
Keleseth?
how you carried on. He's got Keleseth. That's just the end of a hand looking good. But, you know, you are right. The rest of the hand seems to pan out very nicely. And Kalento has been messing around with Hunter on stream. He messes around with a lot of things on stream, though. But he was messing around with Rogue last night with Myra in it without the unstable mutation part. Just the card.
Myra.
Eventually took it out, but he did have a good time messing with those last night.
We were talking about Myra a few days ago, and I feel as though the card itself is really strong. It's just, if Rogue had like 1 or 2 good Death Rattles, it would just be absurd.
And then he threw everything out apart from the 7/7 Whelp Dragon thing.
Okay.
And one other card, and just said, I'm going to play this in Miracle. He just kept the weapon and the 7/7s. And that was it. And then just played Miracle.
Did it work?
So he got to the point where, as we just looked through the opening hands here, because Kalento's going to make a whole board of stuff.
Nah, he's
going to go
he's
pretty
fine.
well.
Yeah.
He basically played a few games and said, I'm not sure about this, but you guys should probably hone it up. It looks good to me. And then he talked to himself and said, actually, no, I should play this some more. So he feels like it's close to working. And after his experiments with Kingsbane Rogue, if Kalento feels something's worth following up on, keep an eye out for some sort of hybrid Death Rattle Miracle in the near future.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. As Lee goes ahead and plays Hex on the egg. I mean, he kind of has to. Again, we've said that's what the Hex is for. It's for these Death Rattle minions. But unfortunately for China, Ukraine have a pretty high value hand at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Savannah Highmane used to be known as the legendary 2-of. the legendary you could play 2 of in your deck. And now, of course, we have Giggling Inventor that kind of fills that role to some extent. But Highmane is still an incredibly powerful card and very difficult to deal with. And with activators as well, and the Hex gone, I mean, you can just start smacking people with a Highmane. It's very difficult for the Shaman to deal with. Its removal is mainly AoE based. Obviously, it can deal with the volcanoes and stuff, but then the Death Rattles pop out and you just carry on hitting your opponent. Of course, it's not quite that good in this deck because the deck is more of a slow burner than a straight to your face, top out at Highmane, hit you in the face, old style Hunter, but even so, still looking like a terrific hand here.
Oh, it's just fantastic, and it just keeps going, doesn't it? Flanking Strike and the Ooze can deal with these Tower Knights, and Kalento stays on top. He may be tempted to coin out Savannah Highmane, as most Hunter players often are, and he can do that, still deal with both Tower Knights. It's just a great hand. However, we do have 2 Tower Knights, 2 Life Drinkers represented, and Shudderwock for Lee and a Mind Control tech, so actually, if Lee can pick up a Grumble, suddenly he might be looking like he's in with a shot here.
Yeah, preserving the coin as long as possible, Kalento here. This flanking strike's looking pretty decent. Like you say, he has to take this seriously. If China can maybe pick up a Glacial Shard as well, just to slow things down when things get a bit terrifying.
Yeah, Glacial Shard would just about finish off this pretty good death rattle curve. But then the second question is, does Lee actually live until turn 9? Because Kalento actually has King Crush that he can coin out later for lethal, maybe.
Well, there's a lightning storm. The saviour of the Netherlands yesterday, Tyler, the professional Wrath of Air totem roller, as he called it in his tweet. Is Lee as good? No. And that is why APAC are better than China. Even though he's playing for the Netherlands, Tyler's now APAC.
You've just blown my mind.
So, as they didn't roll Wrath of Air, they decided not to bother taking the 50-50 because you are overloaded. It's quite important that you don't mess around too much.
It's just not too necessary here. Next turn, Lee has potentially Sound Knight Chain Gang into Mind Control tech if Kalento goes any wider. Obviously, Ukraine are going to be considering playing around Mind Control tech. However, it puts them in a sort of awkward position because they can't really play anything.
So one of the things that is an interesting sort of untalked about combo, really, Chain Gang with Mind Control tech. You force your opponents to go wide and then you steal their stuff.
I mean, I particularly like the Spreading Plague into Mind Control tech combo. I think that's just the same thing, but much stronger. As Ukraine find the obvious outcome, I guess, if they're going to play around Mind Control tech, they trade in a minion, they put up a 6-5. Good luck, China.
And this is kind of what I mean, though. You play a lot of minions out. So the Spreading Plague, you play around Mind Control Tech and Spreading Plague at once. And yeah, if it comes off, I know what you're saying, then you just go Spreading Plague, Mind Control Tech, lol, I've got a million minions and you haven't. But this one, not necessarily on this board state, but the Chain Gang forces your opponents to go wider than they would like, and then you just snaffle their minion from them.
Sure.
And China, as you're saying, not in a bad spot here. You're never in a good spot when you're facing down all this attack damage.
So they're going to be looking at Volcano, I guess, which would leave just the 2/2s on the board, because they could play Volcano and then follow up with Prince Kaliseth, so they have their own 2/2 to contest it. It's not ideal, though, overloading into next turn. However, they'd rather overload into turn 8 than into turn 9, so, you know, swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts?
Is that not the saying?
It is a saying.
Yeah.
I've just never really thought about what a silly saying it was before.
Yeah, it's pretty silly.
You sort of go up and down or round and round.
Which one is China going to decide to do?
I don't know, but they're playing Togwaggle, so we'll probably have both later. With
Up and down and round and round.
Just decks everywhere.
And they're not going to overload at all this turn. So, okay, my question for them now is, because they will have Shudderwock playable very soon, are they going to wait for the Grumble this game, or do you think they just have to tempo it out and hope for the best?
I mean, they're taking a lot of damage in the foreseeable future. They may have their hand forced. Maybe that's why they didn't Lightning Storm. But if they force a Lightning Storm next turn, then the Shudderwock gets delayed till turn 10 or even 11 because the Volcano will also be a thing they have to do. Maybe they are looking at the Volcano and Lightning Storm on the same turn, clear up those 2/2s, and then just have a bad turn 9, get it all over with in one go. That is one way to manage your overload.
If Ukraine want it, they have 15 damage available to them right now, and then coining out King Crush next turn should be finishing the job. China need to find some healing and fast.
Picking up the Hunter Mark has made things a lot more interesting for Ukraine because obviously they can just deal with a minion at will now. But they want to make sure they set up lethal for next turn with the coin King Crush. Presumably it's somebody's job on the team to just be a counter person who sits there and counts. Casters do that sometimes. Just casters aren't very good at counting.
When do we count?
Usually when the other one's talking.
Oh. Never counted while casting.
Oh. Well, I've never talked.
This is awkward.
There is the Acolyte of Pain that, was there not like 10 million health on the board? Be really good with this Volcano, but unfortunately there is precisely 10,047,000 on the board in terms of health, and that is a lot of health.
Definitely not counting that high. Alright, a Neutron probably a target that they'd have wanted to pick up. I guess Savannah Highmane would have been great too, but Is this enough for Lee to defend himself against King Crush? I think it is.
Yeah, interesting that Ukraine did willingly play into that MC tech. I think they felt that if it wasn't there, they just win the game next turn.
And even if it was, I mean, there was a good chance that they still had lethal next turn. But let's see. So Dagger plus a 3-attack minion clears up the Annoyatron. Then the other 3-attack minion and the High Main deal with the Sour Knight. So then the King Crush plus the Annoyatron can go face. That's only 10 damage.
That's not all the damage they need. They need 15. From where they're set, obviously, if they, their opponents could easily have a healing rain hanging about. So just going blindly face, as much as people in chat love to go face with those small emotes.
They have a Shudderwock lying about.
Lying about. Do Shudderwocks lie about when they're not active?
I think so. He looks like a pretty lazy creature.
Does he? Okay. I imagine Shudderwock's just chilling out and then just going insane for like 10 minutes a day, like a playful kitten.
And when it's chilling out, it's probably lying about.
Yeah, that's fair. I can unfortunately have to agree with you, Dan.
That is unfortunate.
Well, Kalento's just continuing to protect this big board, and interesting that he is using the Hunter's Mark here. It does help him get through, of course, but it also means he hasn't got a Hunter's Mark should he lose his Grizzly next turn. He does still, however, have Spider Bombs and ways to activate them, so I doubt he cares too much.
This is set up. King Crush guaranteed lethal next turn. If China don't do something about this, if they're not able to heal themselves or anything.
Shudderwock only has one MC tech to play with and not much else. You make a load of Shudderwocks, but they're not much use when they're trying to defend.
No shards, 2 life drinkers, 2 Sour Knights, 1 MC tech. Yeah, that's it.
Good morning, Kalento. Having a bit of a stretch.
It's been a long morning.
Yeah, he was streaming late, obviously, as I said, so going up first. Nice little wake up, get a match like this and see what gets stolen.
They need to take that 4-3.
They need to take so many of these things.
They got the weakest minion on the board.
That is not the minion they were looking for. Good luck with that.
Well, looks like Lee's not going to give it up, but Ukraine going to take the lethal as they take game number 1, as expected, with the Death Rattle Hunter against Shudderwock Shaman. Very well played, very aggressive start there with the Kalaseth into Egg on curve. It was about everything Kalento could have possibly wanted with the King Crush to follow up.
Yeah, pretty much how the matchup is supposed to go there, but he did keep the pressure coming with that Giggling Inventor, which a lot of people wouldn't have done. Yep. And even though the MC Tech stole one of the better minions, it showed that it was a good decision because it just didn't matter to him. Getting that Shudderwock under pressure early, you so often have to just Shudderwock with insufficient battle cries to win the game, and that's what they had to do. Didn't work out, and now we get into game number 2, most likely.
Next up, it's going to be the Malygos Togwaggle Druid, or Hybrid Druid, whatever you'd like to call it, versus Shudderwock Shaman on the other side, this time with Old Boy. And once again, I would like to think that the Shudderwock Shaman is unfavored in this matchup.
I always like to think that Shudderwock Shaman is unfavored in any matchup. Unfortunately, that's not always true. But in this one, I agree with you.
Yep.
The Druid should be in a good spot. But we must emphasise, there's a difference between being in a good spot and having an auto win. I think we quite often go through lineups and go, oh yeah, this will be 3-2 because this beats this and this beats this. But they're all 60-40, 65-35. You wouldn't mind a 35% chance of winning the lottery.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wouldn't mind a chance that high. How much money? Are we talking a lot of money here?
3, 4, 5 is lottery.
Oh. It's like $1. Maybe 2.
Quite a lot. It's a couple of packs. You might open something really good. Like Whiz Bang.
We've got a little, Whiz Bang is all of the cards you can
open
possibly
all
want.
of the cards. 35% chance of all of the cards.
Have you heard Whiz Bang's attack sound?
I haven't.
No, I haven't either, but occasionally in various Twitch chats and Discord servers, I'll see someone say, oh my goodness, I got Whiz Bang from an Evolve, and I just heard its attack sound.
Do you know what it is? Or There we go, guys. Atters with Whiz Bang's attack sound. Unless it's like, it says Sapcasters or something, then don't. We hear that enough.
How long until there is a card that says Sapcasters?
I mean, there's already a card that says Sap, because that's how it came about in the first place.
Yes. That is true. Okay, let's...
That involves the casters being big, of course. Like, you'd be okay with Gaskin, you could get, like, Forked Lightning or something.
encourage them. What? Okay, we're going to see something like Forked Lightning Casters come up very soon, especially with me.
You can't Fork Lightning me. It's just not going to get rid of me.
Do you have too much health?
Yeah, too much something.
Okay, well, I think we have a couple more seconds, so let's go through the rest of the matchups very, very quickly. So we think that the Mali Druid's probably favoured against Shadow Shaman, so the score is 1-1, in theory.
Okay.
In theory.
Yeah, okay.
Then we have Even Warlock versus Odd Warrior coming up after that, which I believe is Odd Warrior favoured. That's point to Ukraine. As I'm stopped in my tracks, game number 2 has begun.
Lee on the Druid, forgetting there to draw any opening ramp. That is a grave error that Druids sometimes make, but I'm sure he'll get some after the mulligan. Meanwhile, Kalento will be looking to get as much combo and as much card draw to fetch that combo as quickly as possible. And apart from that Manatide Totem, that is not the hand he was looking for. I don't know, is it Kalento again? No, it's Old Boy.
It's probably worth mentioning, as I don't believe we have yet during this broadcast, Ukraine came second place in the Hearthstone Global Games last year. Its first year, just losing to Czech Republic in the finals. They actually beat Czech Republic, though, so already...
Twice. They beat them last year as well in the group stages, and then they lost in the finals. And then this year they beat them again in the group stages, and they were very quick to point that out when we challenged him about it. What's it like to beat the champions? He's like, well, we've done it before. Like, thanks, Nova. You're on Topsy Priest later. We'll get our revenge.
I am sure Nairia is more than ready for that matchup. As Ukraine are just going to go ahead and start drawing cards. This is a hard matchup to describe, because for the Shudderwock Shaman, they want to draw as many cards as possible, get their combo ready. For Lee, he wants to draw as many cards as possible and then switch decks with the Shudderwock Shaman, maybe preventing the combo, maybe stealing the Shudderwock.
I mean, he still has the Malygos side to it as well. I know I made a point of that yesterday as a secondary win condition against Warrior, but against Shudderwock, that is very much a normal win condition as well.
Yeah.
You can just slap them in the head for a lot of damage in Malygos and Floop. So they have 2 ways to victory, and like you say, it's complicated because of that, but both sides looking to draw cards. The longer it goes, the more it favours the Shudderwock, I think.
Well, China now have Wild Growth, Nourish, and Ultimate Infestation all in their hand. There are a few different ways they could go about doing this. They could coin out Nourish and then play Wild Growth immediately. They could wait a turn and then go Nourish Wild Growth next turn, which means they could coin out Ultimate Infestation a little bit sooner. Juggling these different mana cards is actually pretty tricky.
It is, and they also have the big problem in hand that they've got to deal with this Manatide Totem sooner rather than later. That is why Old Boy has defended it with his Chain Gang, because if the Shudderwock does draw several cards from the Manatide, things can go pretty terrifying pretty fast. I mean, we don't see Shudderwock as much as we used to. We're seeing it in this tournament because it's pretty much forced upon the players to play a Shaman deck, and it's regarded as the best one. But drawing a lot of cards, and they've got to decide whether they want to actually play the second Manatide now, because things could get awkward. But drawing a lot of cards really does complete the combo pretty quickly.
It does. I mean, we saw how quickly China almost completed the combo in the previous game. They had both Sound Knights, they had both Life Drinkers. The cards can just fall into place.
The issue here with playing the Manatide isn't next turn in particular. They're not that scared of being naturalized or something, so be it if you overdraw in an unfavored. It's more about, can they empty their hands on the subsequent turns? Drawing 2 cards a turn, the cards have overload, the cards have specific purposes that you don't want to use them for yet. There's not a card in Old Boy's hand that he particularly wants to play next turn. So we might see him hold off on the Manatide for 1 more turn here. And he can always hex one of his own Manatides if he has to next turn.
Whew. That doesn't seem ideal, does it?
Well, talking of not ideal, I mean, there we go. That's the setup for playing this second Manatide, is the healing and also playing around the naturalize. I say you don't mind if you have to overdraw, but you don't want to overdraw. You can just burn a Shudderwock and lose.
I mean, a naturalize now would still burn 1 card.
Yeah.
Which, as you said, isn't the end of the world, especially in an unfavorable matchup. China would be actually giving Ukraine a card and burning a card, which is a little bit dodgy in itself.
Yeah, you take your chance. If you're favoured, you don't want to give them that chance to get lucky. If you're unfavoured, you'll take the chance of you getting lucky.
Yep.
But China can read quite a lot into the hand here from Old Boy. Having seen that, They now know that there's not a Shudderwock in hand, almost certainly. Because otherwise, why is Old Boy healing for 1?
Right.
For 3 mana. Might not be Shudderwock. They know there's at least 1 key piece not there. But not going for it, not going to rise to the occasion and try and take it down.
China just chilling, yeah. Ukraine's hand is getting full, it's getting clunky, it's getting to that point where actually a lot of decks in Hearthstone nowadays sort of struggle with hand size issues. It's not just Shudderwock Shaman. Decks like Topsy-Turvy Priest, which we will maybe seeing a little bit later, decks like Togwaggle Druid itself, they all struggle with hand size issues.
Yeah, Malygos Druid / Togwaggle Druid quite often have to Ultimate Infestation and burn a card and just lose the occasional game because of it. Yeah, playing the numbers means that just sometimes you just have to give up that chance. And it's why I think the top players are winning a higher percentage of games, because there's more and more choices available for each player, much more complex decisions going on, and a dollop of maths thrown in for good measure. Now, Old Boy's problem here is the reason he played Healing Rain last turn. Play Mana Tide, you overdraw. You play Hagatha, you can't, because that's not how mana works. You've got 2 Hexes, you don't want to use those. Volcano blows up your own board. The Gluttonous Ooze is reserved for the Twig. Lightning Storms actually try and kill minions and overload you, like 3 mana, lose 2 mana next turn is the play they really don't want to make.
No, 6 mana, lose 4 mana next turn.
They've decided, yeah, rather than having 2 turns where they can do nothing, they're going to have 1 turn where they can really do nothing and just get on with it. Just trying to keep this hand as empty as possible. It's an absolute mess for them right now.
China just going to take advantage of this as much as possible and sort of just give Ukraine nothing to do. They themselves don't have much to do either.
And they will be able to work out what Old Boy's hand is fairly accurately here, I should think.
Well, they could well expect there to be a Shudderwock in the hand.
What? They could. They know there's not a Shudderwock and a Grumble because of the panic that Ukraine are going through to keep this hand space empty.
Yeah.
So they know there's one or the other missing. They probably can guess there's a Volcano, or 2 Volcanoes maybe.
Well, they know there's no Life Drinker. They know there's no Saronite. They know there's nothing expendable like an MC Tech or even a Zola, I guess, could have been played on a Saronite there.
I think they've got a good idea. If you, we've eliminated half the deck.
We have. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of cards there. They can guess what some of them are. I don't know how much that helps them, but they know the texture of the hand. They know that Ukraine have got issues. So in theory, playing nothing might be quite amusing.
But they're going to take the chance to go on the offensive. They're going to drop the Spreading Plague, drop the Arcane Tyrant. They've got that Branching Path in hand, ready to start dealing some damage. Ukraine have used up a Healing Rain already.
And a double Lightning Storm. And Volcano blows up their own board and can't be nothing can be cast this turn of any use. Oh.
Except whatever gets drawn from Farsight, I guess.
What a tangled mess. Yeah, exactly, apart from whatever plays. But they probably can't play what comes from Farsight, unless they get like a Keleseth or something.
There are a few, aren't they? There's
Keleseth,
there's MC Tech, there's Zola, but then Zola, I mean, the hand is still full, so they are just going to go ahead and drop this Ooze and decide, hey, if they have Twig, at least it's not going to activate for 5 more turns. They could have played it by now if they had it. Let's just sacrifice that little win condition there.
Yeah, bumping into these as well because they have Hagatha available next turn, which isn't going to help their hand size problem any. An actual card they can play has been drawn. That must be exciting for them.
I mean, yeah, like you said, if they play Hagatha, their hand size issues just get much worse, so...
Naturalize is looking good right now. Giving them basically nothing. Yeah. They know that there's problems for Old Boy. I feel like naturalizing now, if it fits in with what they want to do at all in terms of winning the game, could be good timing.
So let's see, if they naturalize 1, I mean, they could Moonfire the other twice. They could Branching Paths for attack and go for it.
And then do you leave up the Mana Tide is another question.
Yes, I think. I do like the idea of an aggressive play here.
Yeah, if you can do some, they're going to go for the, they're going to go for the aggressive play. If they can just tangle the Shaman up enough, they won't need any of their normal win conditions. They're just going to hit him with this lot. Tertiary win condition. Kill him. Actually using up their swipe, so...
Hero Power. So they're actually not going to play Naturalize, but I guess...
They're going to save that for Tog shenanigans.
Yeah, if they're going this route, where they're going the fully aggressive route, I guess they may want to save Naturalize for a Taunt later, for another Saronite Chain Gang, to push for lethal at some point. I just really like this. They've got 14 health left.
Left up the Mana Tide Totem. They've got double Moonfire in hand on China's side, which means they can just Malygos for 12 at some point, just off the top.
And they've got Ultimate Infestation. So next turn, UI the face, draw Malygos, turn after that, win the game.
Yeah, there's Malfurion as well, should they need to get some tickle damage in.
Tickle damage? Is that what Malfurion does?
Yeah, he just tickles you slowly to death. It's quite gruesome. It's a very Druid thing to do.
I don't know, I think 3 damage is a little bit more than a tickle.
We'll test it out later.
Okay.
You can sit there, right, and I'll do the 10% damage to you, and we can see what sort of noise you make.
Sure.
Actually, maybe do that to Gaskin. See what noises come out of Gaskin. Gaskin's struggling with the voice even more today.
Yes.
See if we can make him squeak.
The more astute of you will have noticed that Lorinda and me and myself aren't the common pairing here in the Hearthstone Global Game Studio. Unfortunately, Gaskin has a much worse voice than he even did yesterday and has had to be benched for today. So you'll be seeing a lot of Lorinda, a lot of Derek, and a lot of me.
But your support yesterday was appreciated. I think he had a look through the VOD and saw how many of you were very nice to him. Especially when you realise the option was me as the alternative. Sorry about that. Well.
Oh my goodness, swipe drawn as well. Yep, we are hitting that face for 5 damage every day of the week.
1 healing rain left, and then all the healing has gone apart from Hagatha. Everyone just goes quiet as they're waiting. Will there be a Malygos? Will there be a Twig? Will they have to dump a Moonfire? Are they scared? What are they going to do? Their hand is full.
Yeah, I think Arcane Tyrant is probably the card they wanted to see the most. They are going to go ahead and play that Moonfire here. So what does that mean for the next few turns? Swipe, Moonfire, Hero Power is not quite lethal. That's 6. A Shudderwock drawn for Ukraine. Ooh.
Old Boy's playing this quite quickly. I wonder if he's soloing this a little bit. Not quite soloing it. I wonder if he's not communicating quite as much as normal because the position is so dire. They're just going, yeah, just do what you think. Or if they just plan so far ahead. Well, the Shudderwock has got quite a lot of its pieces assembled, but the hand size issues just haven't gone away. And in the meantime, Trunks has hand size issues of the nice kind. His cards are good.
What to do?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but Shudderwock just doesn't quite do enough yet, does it? It's there and ready to go, but it's just a Saronite so far.
Yeah, and China have just left this Mana Tide sitting there. A very old school way to win games of Hearthstone is just let your opponent Mana Tide themselves into oblivion.
Yeah, who needs to talk? Let them draw their own deck out and then naturalize them.
Yeah.
As Old Boy, apart from with Life Drinkers, Old Boy is out of healing now. So Trunks is just going to deal that damage as quickly as possible. Now Grumble is interesting. It puts the Mana Tide back in their hand.
It's all pretty interesting now because Ukraine do have the tools to work with, in theory, to try and win the Hearthstone game. It's not exactly ideal, and in fact it's incredibly far from ideal, but now they have played a chain gang and they have got all of the combo pieces basically. It's just they're not going to get it done in 1 or 2 turns. They could easily die in those 2 turns. And from where they're sat, the opposing hand is full of branching paths and all sorts of other terrors.
And they know that their health total is now precious. Trunks has shown that he's going to take a very aggressive strategy here.
Glacier Shard is played and actually freezing the face prevent the most aggressive minion on the board, which is actually Malfurion.
Yeah, it's going to be replayed now though. The Hex has dealt with this well. So Branching Paths doesn't really do anything as Mana Tide hits the board once more.
Yeah, both teams happy with this Mana Tide, but now Ukraine have unlocked their hand.
Yep.
It is actually behaving like a Hearthstone hand, finally.
And oh my goodness, we are close to the Shudderwock combo just being complete. Grumble played, Life Drinker played. Sorry, Life Drinker hasn't been played. It's still
Chain Gang has, though.
Chain Gang has. So all Old Boy needs to do is play this Life Drinker, and then the following turn, he can start playing Shudderwocks.
He can.
With a high failure rate, but he can still start playing Shudderwocks.
And he may well do that. He'll be setting up next turn to be doing that.
It was as you said earlier, like it's in these less favorable matchups where you need to take those risks. You need to make those plays. And
Nope.
playing Shudderwock on 9 is a risk, and one that may pay off.
Note that China are up to 52 effective health total now if you count the armor, which means that the Shudderwock combo doesn't win instantly, contrary to popular belief. So they're going to give it several chances. If Ukraine do try and do it with a high failure rate, they may have to do it 2 or 3 times and never fail. That severely lowers their odds.
Well, Ukraine, if they feel as though they have a little bit of time to play it slowly, they're not really afraid of milling any cards from their deck anymore, so naturalizers aren't a worry. They could consider dropping Life Drinker first, then playing Zola on it, then re-dropping Life Drinker, then playing Shudderwock. Because then each Shudderwock hits for 6, and then that is a one-turn kill if 10 get played in one turn. That's a big if, though. It is actually very difficult to play 10 Shudderwocks in one turn, especially after a Zola's been played.
Yeah, and from where they're sat, they don't have a lot of time. There's only 9 cards left in the China hand, so Malygos is dangerous. I guess that's about it. Branching Path number 2.
How dangerous is Malygos at the moment? Because Twig hasn't been played, but one Moonfire has. So we're only talking 6 damage in one turn.
On that turn, and then on the next turn, obviously you get the swipe.
Oh, the turn after is definitely.
And they've used both healing rains.
Yeah.
So the damage will stick. So it's not like absolute DEFCON 1 sort of levels of damage, but it's still a little bit worrying.
I think they're still most afraid of this the second branching path, though. Given how sort of wide and sticky Trunks' board is, that branching path is representing 6 damage. 6 extra damage, that is.
Well, looks like they're good to go next turn, getting as many Glacial Shards down as possible to slow down the branching path's scariness.
They need to empty their board again, though, for Shudderwock to get those good bounces.
Yes. And, well, that's the way of doing it. I don't think I want to use that. That's way too slow from where they're sat. Again, they feel they're probably under a lot of pressure. Trunks not establishing the Twig seems to have been a bit of an issue here. Trunks probably the least well-known of the Chinese players.
You think?
He's been around, played some bits and pieces, some good stuff. Very well known, did a lot last year, but sort of snuck into some of the team at times, but still good. I mean, yeah, when he's up against the likes of Lee and Omega Zero and YouLove, I think he's probably the least known. A lot of people might not know YouLove, but he was a very strong contender in the old Team Story days.
As Trunks has now drawn Togwaggle, but as we've said before, Togwaggle is just not much good now. All of the Shudderwock pieces have been drawn by Old Boy. Togwaggle doesn't really stop Old Boy.
Twig seems a bit slow right about now.
5 turns, and bearing in mind every time Shudderwock is played, the face gets frozen probably.
But and it gets blown up because they've already played
the
use. As well as that.
Good point. Good point.
Not only can you not attack, but you couldn't if you wanted to. Alright, so how much does Old Boy want to sacrifice here?
As much as possible, but he can't. I think he needs to be able to kill off more of his own minions before he can think about playing Shudderwock. Otherwise, Shudderwock just bounces the other minions to the hand and the extra Shudderwocks get burned.
Done a good job of keeping their deck a sensible size compared to China's, so Toggle Woggle himself can't get it done.
I don't know how he feels about you adding an extra Oggle to his name.
It's Purple that calls him Toggle Woggle, not me.
He is a king, you know.
He is.
King Togwaggle.
Okay.
Togwaggle, even.
There we go. Got you at it now.
Apologies, my liege.
Wow.
There is little time.
Yeah, I should probably have more respect for the king.
I wonder.
I don't know what King Mukla would have to say about that.
Don't know, but I wouldn't take any candles from Mukla, that's for sure.
Oh boy, gonna go ahead and play
Bananas,
Hagatha.
maybe.
Hagatha clears up his own board. Okay, that's
Tasty.
what he wants.
Alina, so they can do that thing that they do if they want to, but I don't think they want to. They haven't got the Florist either.
No, they don't have the 20 mana that would be required.
And it's not worth it anyway, because your opponent's only got 6 cards and...
It's not like stealing that... Wait, okay. We now have to think about all of the battle cries that Trunks has played this game.
I don't even want to know what happens if you have Togwaggle and Shudderwocks and swapping things around.
Oh, yeah, I referenced this yesterday. It's happening. It's actually happening.
This is what happens when you reference things, Dan. This is why we don't let you reference things. Shudderwocks with Azalinas and Togwaggles.
So I was going to say, the great thing is, if China play the Shudderwock, then Floop could then play Shudderwock afterwards, but that can't happen because Azalina would proc, and it gets very complicated.
Take one. Sort that problem out. I can count to 1.
Okay, Chunk's out of cards now.
Yeah, that's more tempting.
Or not. I think the card counter updated there before I saw it. Okay.
Is it Shudderwock time? I think it might be. They set up for it last turn.
The failure rate isn't too high now.
Get ready, everybody.
1 Saronite, 1 Shard, 1 Grumble, 1 Ooze, 1 Zolo, 1 Keleseth, 1 Hagatha.
Claws and jaws. Claws and jaws.
Turn button's still yellow. That's a good sign for Ukraine.
Is it?
Yeah, it means that their turn's not over.
Okay.
That's bad though. So the yellow just means a 1-mana spell's getting added to the hand. That's not good.
Oh dear.
That's really not good. Saronite activating last. I mean, it was a pretty high probability. It was a 1 in 3.
Oh dear. Well, that was an anticlimax, Mr. Shudderwock.
Yeah, it was. But it's okay, because Ukraine have 2 1/1 Sparks with Rush.
Yay. Get 'em, Sparks. If you wait till next turn, you could have 4 Sparks with Rush.
Tempting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of the Hagatha, both Shudderwocks have taken damage. That means it is oh so easy for Trunks to just clear those up and not worry about them at all for the rest of the game.
Yeah, he has a wealth of options available as to how to want to win this. Clearing up the Shudderwocks seems to usually be the best plan to avoid any accidents. And that seems to be where he's going.
Bye-bye, Mr. Wok.
To the upset of absolutely nobody. Apart from Ukraine fans, of course.
I'm pretty sure Old Boy's pretty upset. I can just see it now. Underneath Thrall's eye, there's just a single tear.
Oh, that's sad. All right, Old Boy, do that thing with bloodlust and things that Hagatha does.
A path dimly lit.
Blazing Invocation is what you're looking for, Lorinda.
That's also good.
Blazing Invocation into Shudderwock, which is very unlikely.
We've seen a Jordan McCaw into Swamp Dread. Anything can happen. Yeah.
What did you just say?
Taking my advice, not Dan's. Don't blame him. But you could keep Electra for bloodlust.
Oh.
Don't play that.
Oh.
Good man. That's it. Yeah.
Play the Acolyte.
Play the Acolyte. Just have minions down and you're threatening to double bloodlust your opponent.
Play the Acolyte, then Trunks just plays Volcano Naturalize.
I mean, you can't have everything. No, don't play. Oh, okay.
Well, they can't have Volcano, they're the Druid. But yeah.
Well, they can because they've got Togwaggle. They can have an Azalina. They can have what they like.
True.
For those moments when being Druid isn't enough, there's Azalina. I'm not sure when Druid isn't enough, but people feel the need to steal other cards on top of all their own good ones.
Hello, Giggling Inventor.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Chung's hand is a little bit frustrating for him because he isn't able to swap decks without Old Boy just swapping back. He hasn't had the discount yet. The twig is gone.
Just wondering how bad a volcano this is, given that this is an emergency. There's a chance that all their stuff lives. They'll probably lose a 3-3.
There is a chance that all of his stuff lives.
The chances are the 5-5 and the 4-4 survive.
There's also a chance both the Noyatrons live. It's a lower chance.
It's a much lower chance. Volcano really spirals out of control quickly for each extra point of health.
Right.
But they are just emptying out their deck to stop the naughtiness.
Oh, Life Drinker, that's a 5-5. Oh, boy's still looking okay, you know.
1 mana 5-5 for Shaman. Feels like the olden
You
days.
thought 4 mana 7-7 was bad. This one doesn't even have Overload.
Yeah, seems good to me. I'd play that card. And so would Old Boy by the look of it. Oh! Stormbringer is going to bring some storms near you any second now.
Well, not this turn. There isn't the mana to do it this turn. But it's tricky because Old Boy actually has a pretty well-statted board. He might not want to turn these all into legendaries.
He might want 4 King Crushers.
He might want 4... I mean, he does want 4 King Crushers. There's no denying that.
Which means he's going to get, like, Nat Pagal and Law Walker Cho and Blood Mage Thalnos. And, like, Mist Caller. I know you can't get it, but you might get it anyway.
Hello, giggling inventor.
That was a bit of a pause. The Annoytrons are just so sick of being made every single game by everybody. It's like, oh, we're not coming out today. Imagine if Giggling Inventor made a random number of Annoytrons between 0 and 4.
I'm almost out of cards.
I don't want to.
Hello, 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 hello. And then somebody just go, oh, the Inventor isn't giggling anymore. I think that'd be funny.
For the billionth time, Lorinda, you should go and work for Team 5 and design some Hearthstone cards.
Yeah, I don't think they'd let me very near, to be honest.
Perplexing.
So Acolyte plus the Stormbringer, I guess, is a potential turn.
Yeah, Glacial Shard, same sort of deal.
The way
Did
this
you get some more sparks?
the way this game has turned out now is that there's not going to be any deck swapping, but China have managed to find themselves a lot of armor, and they still have both copies of Naturalize. So on one turn, they can dig Old Boy 4 turns into Fatigue. 1 +2 +3 +4, and then 5 for the natural draw. That's just going to be lethal.
Ice fishing. It's always ice fishing. Sorry, Dan. Yeah, it is. You're right. But here it comes. The Stormbringer. What's it going to bring? Storms. There's some cards.
Okay. It's not much of an upgrade, though, is it?
Well, Hadronox fetches back.
Some Saronite Chain Gangs.
Yeah, and the 5/5 that's on the board.
Great.
Ice fishing would fetch the Murlocs if you put a Murloc into your deck with something.
Great. Newsflash. Old Boy's dead next turn.
Yeah, that's always awkward.
Because now Tog double Naturalize does the 4-card milling, and then the 5th card drawn from Fatigue will finish Old Boy off. That is just the end of the game. Good job, Stormbringer. Nice 5/5 you got there.
But if they but
It's just lethal.
doesn't it put a card back in their deck if they get it wrong?
Just lethal though, isn't it?
Okay.
It's just lethal right now.
You win.
Okay.
Because they were going to take another 3, then another 4, then another 5.
I thought they'd put a card back in their deck so they'd only take the 3 and the 4. Because when it dies, doesn't it put a card in your deck? Maybe I'm wrong.
Which card?
Oh no, it's the wrong. I'm thinking of the. Don't worry about it. I'll explain later.
Okay.
It's a Gadget Sand card. I was thinking was that one, the one that puts the 10/10 in your deck.
I worry about you, but I'm not worried about that.
It's fine. You are right, and I'm thinking of the wrong card.
You know what? I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a chance now to explain what the Stormbringer is and all of that jazz as we take a very short break. Next up, we're going to have Even Warlock versus Odd Warrior. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more HGG very soon. Welcome back to the Hearthstone Global Games, where the two of us have finally worked out the difference between the Stormbringer, Ozrock, the Storm Guardian, and White Eyes. We've got through that. Next up, we're going to have Even Warlock versus Odd Warrior. And now, this is a matchup that, okay, it kind of depends on where the Skulking Geist is, when Skulking Geist is played, because in a world where Skulking Geist doesn't exist, Warrior is free to play Shield Slams and Omega Assemblies and outvalue the Even Warlock and do whatever they like. But if Skulking Geist is played on turn 6, before Shield Slams have been played, before Omega Assemblies have been played, suddenly the Warlock is in a much better position.
And just the fact it exists can be a problem, because it means you probably play those cards a little bit more quickly than you want to anyway. And so that does mean that the Warrior gets less value. But the Warrior is a value machine in the late game, and it will probably get that far. Although
with Shield Slam, it's not so much a problem, because I'm almost certain in saying just keep Shield Slam, tank up, turn 3, when the Mountain Giant comes down, great, Shield Slam, threat gone. It's more the Omega Assemblies, as you said. Like, Omega Assemblies are going to get played too early, not going to get the full amount of value. And that can be a problem for Insane, but I think generally the Warrior still gets there.
yeah, it depends just how much pressure China can get extremely early on. And as you just said, tank up, Shield Slam your big giant of doom It's a pretty good way of doing it. With that in mind, maybe trying to try and get the Twilight Drake established first. Chunk away that armor, make sure it doesn't get to 8, but it's so hard because it has to not get to 8. It's got to get not to get to 4 is the problem.
I mean, then Insane just goes tank up, shield slam the Twilight Drake, and then I guess Mountain Giant sticks around. So yeah, playing the Twilight Drake first does make a lot of sense.
So hard to not just keep the armor under control, but to actually chip away lower than 4, though. And Ukraine seem to have kept all that Insane on this one, I think.
We have turned our curse into our strength.
How has he turned the curse into strength, by the way? When you can only play half your cards.
I guess the strength is having half a hero power.
That's true. Alright, Dr. Boom is a big deal because we're talking about how this might end up being value in the late game. If Ulev is going to survive, he's going to not have bad value engines out valuizing him. Because that basically gets rid of the hero power for the Warlock in terms of keeping up on value. Dan's looking at me to say, why did you word that anywhere near what you just said?
Valuizing?
It's only a word. It's almost a word, in fact. Alright, Omega Assembly tempting here just because that Geist you were talking about. Obviously very irritating to have to do this.
Yeah, it's got to be right to play this now where you get 1 guaranteed mech rather than play it out on turn 10 where potentially you get nothing. Now, weaponized Pinata, if Insane wants to go the value route, I mean, actually, if he wants to go any route...
Yeah, if he wants to go the route where the card isn't gubbins.
Oh?
That combine's nice, it's just to remove a minion. It is a removal spell. You don't have amazing spot removal in this because you don't have execute, so that makes sense. I think the Pinata looked more interesting, but I get it. Hey, Mountain Giant. No messing with Twilight Drakes. Just hope they don't have the shield slam. Guess what? They do.
I just like breaking open pinatas and seeing what's inside.
Yeah. It wasn't a thing I was aware of until I started playing Hearthstone. I don't know why I heard of it first, 'cause obviously that card's only just been released, but somewhere in the last 3 or 4 years.
Pinatas are just a real life thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Break open a
But I didn't know until
candy
recently.
comes out? Okay.
Like recently, 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe there's various wrestling shows that I've learned it from. Certainly haven't learned it from having ever seen one. Which is a shame, because they look amazing.
If you like sweets. Enjoy.
Do I look like I like sweets? Yes. Yes, I like sweets.
Ukraine have 2 5-drops, both of them. The Daihon Hatchling actually looks pretty good, to be fair. Like, Dynamatic is too valuable to be wasting on sort of half killing a Twilight Drake, but Daihon Hatchling comes down, it gets in the way, it's doing its job.
Yeah, just buying that time to... I mean, setting up Super Collider is going to be good fun. Having a lot of armor is good fun. My definition of fun has changed, as if I'm Ukrainian at this point.
I was wondering.
Yeah, because none of those things are actually fun for your opponents.
Demonic Project. Is China running 2?
There's 2, yeah. There's 2 projects. I had a bit of a snootle at that when the break was on. There's 2 projects in this.
Snootle.
Could give them some more gas later on. Because I think people think of Project as only being a card which sort of hinders your opponent, but it can actually just make your own hand better.
Yes, if timed correctly. So Ulev isn't going to want to play that while the Lich King is in his hand, but when his hand ends up being just maybe Gen, Stun Fury Protector.
Yeah, turn it into Jiraxxus, and off you go. Your value engine's better than Delivery Drone.
And you have 15 health maximum.
Yeah, but the Warrior doesn't hit you very hard.
Yeah, I guess.
Surprised that Jiraxxus isn't played much anymore. I understand why, of course. Obviously, you can't play an even lock for one thing. You don't want to play it in Zoo. But I think there's decks where... And obviously, Gul'dan is just better. But there's decks where I can see it being played. So,
one of the things that I'm sure Insane and the team have been discussing this game is whether or not Dr. Boom gets played. Because that can be a complicated matter in itself. My view is that generally, the Dr. Boom hero power is probably better than Tank Up in most matchups, because over time, the various different things you can do with it, the 3 damage here, 3 damage there, discover a mech here, which then has Rush.
Sneaky 7 armor.
Yeah, I think overall, you probably get more value than just the armor from Dr. Boom.
But you are right, against Evenlock, maybe where Evenlock lives its life backwards. Maybe you just delay it a turn or two until they start to run out of steam, and then when you stabilise that high armor total, then you can start getting the value and just say, you're never killing me. So it's definitely a consideration. You're right, they'll be talking about it already. As it's next turn, they've got to make the first decision on it. And maybe they will just delay it a turn or two.
The other thing that they're waiting for a good opportunity for is when they can play the Super Collider. Because Super Collider is one of the best cards in this Warrior deck, just generally. And it's so good at clearing up 2 powerful minions at once. However, right now, it's potentially just clearing up a Sun Fury if it's played. So, going to hold on to it for a bit longer.
Yeah, I've seen theories about how you can force it to go the way you want, but it's just people looking at randomness, I think. You know, scratch your nose 3 times, stand on one leg, and it hits the thing on the left.
Why do you have to scratch your nose 3 times specifically?
Because if you do it twice, it hits the one on the right.
Huh. I'll try that.
Yeah, I tried. It didn't seem to work.
Oh.
But I cut my nose.
Oh.
Yeah. It was all a bit awkward. But now Super Collider is looking really good indeed, depending on what China decide to put alongside these. Yeah, where are you going to put it? Huh?
Yeah, again, it's slightly awkward because the Twilight Drake has Taunt, which means the Super Collider has to hit that, and then it only deals 4 damage to the Gen, which means the Gen survives. Oh, Gen's on the far right, which means Super Collider's great here.
Mm-hmm. Seems good. You're kind of wondering why and how.
I'm wondering why and how as well. I guess if Gen went in the middle, then the...
I mean, this way your Gen survives on 5 health.
Yeah.
Whereas the other way it's on 1 health.
And the 3-2 could have traded into it.
Yeah. But this way, that way they haven't got a 3-2.
Yeah. No. Super Collider's difficult to play around, it has to be said. These positioning cards do tend to be difficult to play around.
I think they do end up with an extra 1 health on their Gen because of it. Because now, if it did trade into the 3-2, which it won't because it wants to go face, they would have a 6-2, and the way we were talking about, they'd have a 6-1.
Okay.
So it is actually correct. It just looks instinctively weird because of the way that the minions got killed. And you can see how long China took to work it, well, not to work it out, but to talk it through as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so they did end up with an extra point of health on their game, which is really important because now it can't be taken down.
It was a much stronger combo with the Hellfire. Dynamatic is looking okay here. Steel Rager also not looking terrible.
Yeah, Dynamatic seems better because it does put something on the board to go alongside that Steel Rager for next turn.
Yep.
I love this card.
I also am a big fan of Dynamatic. I was saying to you before, on the first day after playing with it when the expansion came out, I said this was the card that surprised me the most with how good it's been.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me at first. It surprised me a lot later on. I must admit I hadn't realised how good it was. And this is where the Steel Rager they took all that time ago is going to do its thing. Magma Rager's big brother, going to make up for all those years of just, I don't know, living in the wilderness for Magma Rager.
Your mind goes to some creative places, Lorinda.
Yeah.
Why the wilderness?
Why the wilderness?
It's made of steel.
Yeah, but magma's made of magma. It comes out of volcanoes, and volcanoes are found in the wilderness, right? Have you ever been to the wilderness, Dan?
No.
Do you know how many volcanoes are there? No.
No, I can't even argue with you, which is making this a very difficult conversation.
Right, China in a position where already a lot of their stuff has been dealt with, but plenty of time still with the Hoot Reavers, with Gul'dan. But they are at that point where they start to run out of good things to do. Frostmourne, a very handy pickup. Obviously, that gives huge amounts of value if you can kill off 2 or 3 minions with it. As we keep saying, this is a value matchup.
I'm very distracted by the fact that we now have carrots on the screen.
We have carrots?
Production, can you please put the pumpkins back? No, no, no.
You used to be able to make that water run forever in the bottom right, and I never ever worked how to do it. Hafu used to do it on stream all the time, and I've never managed to do it.
No, leave. Okay, thank you, production.
Are they pumpkins?
I don't know.
They're green.
But I know that people get frustrated when the board doesn't look as it's supposed to look. So wanted to make sure the production put that right.
Oh. Wouldn't be on the wrong side of you today, Dan. Ukraine have actually run out of interesting stuff to do. It looks like they're going to play Dr. Boom with that tank up there, just getting that last piece of armor before trying to resurrect this hand that is full of absolutely nothing right now.
It looks like it was the right decision, as Kaboom would not have been ideal that turn. I think if you're playing Dr. Boom and Hero Powering, it's kind of weird using the Hero Power first, because one of the reasons you play Dr. Boom is for the new Hero Power. But I guess the main reason is for the rush on the mechs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you just want to... I don't think they wanted to play it this early, but they've run out of stuff, so they've got to. So they're getting the last use out of the previous Hero Power, and now they're on 44 effective health. They've got, in theory, decent stuff still to come.
This would be a great time for Ukraine to draw Azalina and just play it immediately. Because their hand is just, as you would say, gubbins, and China's hand has Gul'dan in it. And Ukraine stealing Gul'dan, using it for themselves, would be fantastic.
Yeah, obviously the Hero Power, one of the best in the game, almost certainly better than Dr. Boom's, despite the fact Dr. Boom's is good over a long period of time. Gul'dan's is just so fantastic over 10 or 15 turns. Because they 10 or 15 games then, which would have been silly.
So, Insane could Hero Power, play Ziliax, magnetize it onto one of the 1/1s and deal with the
Oh, that's clever.
6/6. Doesn't make much of a difference, it just makes Ziliax slightly bigger.
Very suspicious that China have put themselves down to 15 health.
I guess they have to consider playing around that Frostmourne though. They don't really want to give Ukraine their own Ziliax. Oh, but if they magnetize the Ziliax onto the 1/1, then they won't be giving them a Ziliax. They'll be giving them a 1/1 Warbot.
Yeah.
1/1 bot.
Good thinking.
Microbot, that's the one.
Yeah. You're good on all the little card names and stuff. You should do this for a living.
Speak to Derek. He is the best at knowing the names of all of the cards. Derek and Cora are both fantastic at that.
Yeah, Noxious is also very good at that. Well,
What was that? I saw that production. They're now just not going to put it right to spite me, aren't they?
yeah, you're going to be irritated the whole game now by the lack of what you call a pumpkin. Well, you love another bad roll here for Ukraine on that Hero Power, by the way. I think this is universally regarded as the worst one.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because you thought it might be good when you see it with
Yeah.
you know, so many things like Execute and so on, but everyone's playing it in Odd, which doesn't have Execute.
We were in a world before the expansion came out where Odd Paladin was running rampant, and this Hero Power is great against Odd Paladin. It's okay against Token Druid.
The trouble is on turn 12 against Odd Paladin, you've either won or you haven't.
It's a fair point, yeah.
Mossy Horror says lol to these 1/1s, and some damage is going to come in. Decide whether to keep out the Frostmourne. The Frostmourne is keeping Insane's minions at bay for now, so they probably won't attack in with it. There's no hurry. Getting down as many demons as they can for the inevitable Gul'dan.
Wow. Oh, okay. Well, this turn's looking good, isn't it? Reckless Flurry, then play the Ooze. I don't recall if the Frostmourne has actually killed anything, or if it's
Killed a Mind Control tech.
a Mind Control tech. Okay. So I guess they could play the Ooze first, but then they're sacrificing 5 more armor and also their own Ooze. I think it'd be better to Flurry first and then drop the Ooze.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're, of course, giving up the Ooze that way to some degree. They're giving up the Ooze anyway, so yeah, you're right, definitely.
They came to the same conclusion. Oh. It's the only weapon in the deck, so it's the only value they're ever going to get off of the Ooze, and it also prevents that weapon from continuing to sit there, threatening everything else that Ukraine plays.
That's the main trouble, isn't it? It's just making sure they can't do anything, and this has just freed them up to do what they like. Phew. And now just doing damage because they can. No reason not to. And that's going to be 7 armor for them next turn, should they want it.
Oh, they want it.
Still really low on stuff, but double shield block can take care of that to some extent.
They're not playing them, though. I don't know if... It shouldn't really be fatigue they're thinking about.
Well, they're worried about that Reckless Flurry, I think.
Yeah.
They were trying to wait until after the Flurry was used up so they can get to retain the extra armor.
They still have Super Collider.
Still Super Collider, still Brawl for emergencies. But now the clock is ticking.
Also worth mentioning, Azalina would be much worse if drawn now, as Gul'dan has been used up, and Yulof's hand isn't looking that much better than Insane's.
Yeah, a little bit better with the Hellfire, and the Sack Pact is quite tasty, but nothing too exciting. Well, I think they probably wouldn't mind. Now I think we'll see the shield blocks go into action. Depends what they want to do with this Super Clyde and this Ziliax, if anything. That looks pretty good to me. Put China in a spot where they have no minions. And if you do that, you've got plenty of mana left over to use all these shield blocks and still gain 7 armor. That seems good. You do have to start to pressure the Warlock now Gul'dan's been played. That hero power will wear you down over time.
Insane should win the fatigue game though, even in spite of the Gul'dan hero power.
Yeah, I think that's why they're taking their time thinking about these shield blocks. Like, how far behind do we want to get in fatigue?
Yeah.
Big Game Hunter, a big pickup. That means the second giant, when it turns up, is already dealt with. And Delivery Drone with its happy smiley face is on the way.
It's just the best one now for Ukraine. They just want to make the biggest mech they possibly can every turn and then rush that in.
And China are low on stuff. They've got a Hooked Reaver, a Giant, a Twilight Drake. That's about all they've got left, I think, in terms of big stuff. We've seen Lich King, we've seen at the Dread Infernal.
Bloody decision.
Let's have a quick look through China's deck, of course. There's a Gen, or Gen, whichever way you want to go with that. Still got that Geist available too, which they haven't drawn yet. That second Omega Assembly would be pretty useful for Ukraine. Yeah, then you're down to Shroom Brewers.
That's true, actually.
All that stuff.
If Omega Assembly is drawn within the next couple turns, or the second Shield Slam even, and that's an important thing to consider about fatigue. If Omega Assembly isn't drawn, and if Shield Slam isn't drawn, and Geist is played, then suddenly Ukraine lose 2 more cards in their deck.
Yeah, and that gets interesting then, because you're kind of starting off 3 behind because of Gul'dan's hero power. It's muddied a little bit because you've got your own hero power that gives you some armor on a random basis.
Dynamatic or Security Rover?
Yes.
Which?
One of those. But with this setup, Dynamatic looks pretty good.
Oh yes, it does.
Do you Zola this? Do you wait?
I don't think you need to Zola this. I think there are better targets in the deck. Isn't there still an Elise somewhere knocking around?
Could be.
As we both very quickly scramble to look at the deck list. Yes, there is. Okay,
there is.
That's good.
So that's 1 card back, kind of.
2 cards back if Zola is held on 2 as well. That's why the Elise Zola combo is so powerful. It stands out specifically in the Odd Warrior Mirror, but in any matchup that uses fatigue.
They have a second Direhorn still to come as well, I think.
I think they played both.
Oh, did they? Okay.
One was silenced, the other was destroyed.
Yes, you're right. But China now are down to a hero power and some bits and pieces.
Many bloody decisions.
What's gonna happen? We're gonna get a Void Lord.
Turns into a Doom Guard. Okay, Insane's really not ever going to be wanting to discard his hand, but I think he will be happy it didn't hit the Zola.
Yeah, that's not going to be played until a long way into fatigue, I should think. There might come a point where he's got the shield block left in hand and a brawl that isn't doing anything, something like that. So the card will be useful later.
Alternatively, it could be used for lethal 1 turn when they've calculated that the correct amount of fatigue damage is there and the extra 5 from the Doom Guard will do the job.
Which is good for us, because when they play it, we know they've got lethal.
Because as we've established earlier, can't count, so that's the only way we'll
count,
know.
won't count. Oh, Baku, why don't you cost 8? Because then you'd be even. Why don't you cost 7? Or 11, because that's how useful you are. That'd be great to have a card that costs 11 that doesn't reduce. It just sits in your hand, having a passive effect.
Okay, then.
Well, that's what Baku is, really, isn't it?
Bring back Emperor Thaurissan, is what I say to that. Then it can be played.
Oh, yeah. Let's not do that, then. Does that mean, like, odd rogue is, like, passive-aggressive rogue? Because Baku's kind of passive, but the rest of the deck's aggressive.
I want to give you a passive-aggressive answer.
Yeah, you just did. So 7 armor is a lot to give up. Which turn do you want to play? I think you might want to play it on the turn when you have the microbots or the 1 damage to all things.
Yeah.
I think you probably wait, but you have no other turn if you do it now. If you don't do it now.
Is that so bad? They're taking 5, they're gaining 7.
And you might not have a turn next turn anyway.
I think it's fine for Ukraine. It's all about... Now all Ukraine needs to do is survive. It's sort of the odd warrior way of life, isn't it? To just sit, survive, outlast.
I mean, you call that a way of life. Is that life? Is that really living?
It's how Dr. Boom lives.
It is.
In his little mech suit.
Hey, cackling
Hopping
away.
around. Yeah,
He has a great time, doesn't he?
he does.
And now is the time for the Baku, rewarded for their patience there. And
Rewarded because they got the horrible hero power.
that's what I mean,
They didn't
yeah.
want to play.
So
Okay.
now they had an extra 2 mana available this turn to play the Baku.
And they've got the armor up again next turn, so that's perfect.
And China, it's hard to say how well they're doing because they have still got the chip, the drip, drip, drip of the 3 damage per turn. But it feels like they're not doing very well.
The Void Lord is a bit of a nuisance for Insane. But other than that, China don't really have all that much going on, do they? They can't go too wide because then they're weak to brawls. So they're just dealing 8 damage a turn right now.
Yeah, Super Collider and trading in the Baku next turn, put the 1/3s out there, and what are they going to do? Not a lot. They're just going to get in the way. But they're 5 cards behind in Fatigue.
That's a problem. Still no Geist drawn. Can you believe that? Still no Omega Assembly drawn. Well, one.
Well, one Assembly, 1 Shield Slam, so it has been pretty weird. And that would change the game depending who draws that first. There's Elise, as you can see.
And it's a tricky turn now because, as you said, Super Collider might be worth considering for You Love here. I mean, Silence might be worth considering. How many more targets can there be to Silence?
Not many, in fairness. Not many at all. Maybe, I mean, there's the second 7/7, but that's never going to be a 7/7 again.
Right.
Ever. So at least Super Collider, you miss out on 7 armor.
I mean, Silence Brawl just looks fine to me.
This would be a good time for a master.
Silence Brawl can still fit in the hero power. 1 minion survives. It's not going to be the end of the world, regardless of which one it is.
Just wondering if they want to set up the Brawl so it actually has the 1/3s on the board before they play it. Because if one of those wins, great. What are you going to do? Kill me with a Void Lord? Void Walker.
I love that view.
But they are indeed going to silence it.
Just makes sense. Again, nothing else to silence.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it being a value matchup. Get the value out of the cards you have. The Doomguard
Wow, that's
scared
great.
me there.
This is much better than the Brawl, actually. Look at that. Very smart use of Super Collider. Just leaving a 4/4, but keeping their own board with the 7/5 and the 2/1. They have some pressure. You Love has an ooze, though.
Yeah, Yulov has an ooze.
Good timing.
And that indeed is good timing. There's a Hellfire Ping if he wants it as well. Actually, yeah, Defile's just going to be better than that. Oh, he's out of stuff though. Interesting to see Shadow Flame in the deck. We haven't talked about that because it hasn't been relevant in this game. Sneaks into decks every now and again.
It rears its ugly head occasionally, yeah. It's something I hadn't seen much of at all and still haven't seen much of. But the day the expansion came out, Dan Gaskin actually was saying to me, yeah, even Warlocks have started running Shadow Flame.
I mean, he wanted to play Shadow Flame at last expansion
Yeah.
anyway. I mean, and he's got a good point.
And I was like, what are you talking about? I haven't seen this. But lo and behold, he's right.
This would be a good time for a master.
Yeah, you know when a meta's pretty diverse, okay, we're used to a lot of the decks, but there are a lot of decks when you have discussions amongst yourselves, it's like, so how many OTK Paladins did you face there? And someone goes, what? OTK Paladin on ladder? And I'm like, I faced 3. You're dreaming.
And here we go. Again, with the Kaboom hero power, Ukraine doesn't really want to use it, so instead they're going to shuffle an extra card in the deck. They're not using the Zola on the same turn, which probably isn't the end of the world, given that there's still so many cards ahead in Fatigue.
Yeah, they're ahead on everything now. The Happy Drone is coming back to give more goodies. Oh, and this is just the beginning of the end now.
just a great draw, isn't it? Trades nicely with the ooze, yeah, it can get pinged. But then Elise just continues to run rampant.
Come on, Happy Drone, give us a Mechathune.
Is that really what Ukraine wants right now?
For a master
It's what I want right now.
Okay, I think Security Rover would be a great one here.
Yeah.
Clockwork Auta. How did you say that? You guys had this out for me.
Automaton.
It's Automaton, is it?
Yeah.
Clockwork Automaton.
Remember, this is from the guy who calls things Shaman and Geezer. But I think it's Automaton. Automaton sounds kind of...
this would be
Automaton is what I think.
I don't think that's wrong, but it's needlessly yawn.
Okay.
Oh, I love that fuse.
It makes Kaboom reasonable, though. Rover is just a better card overall.
Yeah, seems fair.
Rush the enemy! Defend Gilneas!
Still love the sound that Darius makes when you play him.
This is cool.
Rush the enemy! As Insane manages to get the Zola onto Elise because it survived another turn.
More Elises,
That's a result.
more packs. Everyone likes more packs. Board cleared again. That's how good Gul'dan can be. They're not going to want to project until they have a bad minion of their own, most likely. Well, that's another board dealt with. Careful not to stick it on the Elise. They just want to use the cards up while they can.
There's
Assembly.
Omega Assembly drawn before Skull King Geist. Ukraine going to slam that one down straight away before it gets destroyed. 3 random mechs. Wow! That's a result.
Ziliax, Dynamatic, and you'll know the other one. I don't put you on the spot.
Upgradable Framebot.
Man with big hand.
Ah, I got it right. What is my purpose? It's him that says that.
Okay.
Okay, then.
Well. Not... The only decision they've got, really, is how do they want to win. But they don't know that. From where they're... Yeah, there's still
This would
some bits and pieces to come from you, love. I guess the health total's a little bit iffy. They know there's a second project to come, which could give Juraxis, I want to say. I don't think the Juraxis is better at this point. It's too late, I think. Happy Drone's back.
Ooh, 9-mana Mountain Giant. That's a little bit, as you would say, as I've heard you say, orcs, isn't it, Lorinda?
I wouldn't say anything like that. No way down enough with the kids to do that sort of thing. And they're going to wait till it's 8 mana so that they can play it and ping in the same turn. Azalina's late as well. All the good cards are late.
No, Ukraine, you do not want that hand. You don't want it. Nope.
Not yet, anyway.
Your hand is better. Mechanical Whelp is looking
Just
great.
pick any of those.
Yeah, I mean,
Fine.
these are 3 of the most premium picks, but Mechanical Whelp in particular here, they're not desperately going to be wanting to clear any more boards with Dynamatic. And hey, Mechanical Whelp is a pretty great board clear in of itself. It's a 2-2 with Rush, that then makes a 7-7 with Rush.
That seems pretty good.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
I don't think you need a master plan, Doctor.
Yeah, I think you just need to play your cards, to be honest. They're down to 14. You should probably take it a little tiny bit seriously. Yeah, that's why they're playing the Ziliax, just to try and get some lifesteal if they, for some reason, accidents happen. Now I think that's just the end of the game. And I think it's been the end of the game for some time, which is why I've been talking about
I'm almost out of
anything
cards.
other than this game.
There's the Skull King Geist.
Right on, guys, you made it to this.
You'll have found it as the penultimate card in the deck, and now it's gone.
Now it is a Felguard. And China have had enough of that absolute torture. And it goes to 2-1 to Ukraine. Chance to go to 5 wins and 1 loss in the Swiss.
It's just a great matchup for the Warrior. And like I said, in a world where Skulking Geist doesn't exist and the Warrior gets to do whatever they want with these 1-mana spells, it's even better for the Warrior. And guess what? In that game, Skulking Geist didn't exist.
No, it just turned into Concede Geist.
It did, indeed. What's coming up next, please, production team? It's going to be Omega Zero this time on the Odd Warrior versus Neyria on his favorite deck, I think, since the expansion came out. It's Topsy, it's Turvy, it's APM Priest.
Yeah, and the in-joke here, if you didn't see Seat Story, is Neyria took Topsy Priest to that event. One game just went horribly wrong, and then another game he went off without the whole combo in hand, and obviously he didn't win that one either. And the meme was that he said, well, at least no one's failed the combo yet. Because he didn't have the combo, he just had some cards that he thought was enough.
Okay, now...
So he's going to prove himself absolutely right and how good he is at this deck.
On paper, he should be destroying the Odd Warrior with this deck.
And he will.
Odd Warrior doesn't, as you've just witnessed, Odd Warrior doesn't kill you, it just sits there and waits, and waits, and waits, and waits until you find yourself pressing the concede button. Well, Neyria is only going to be pressing the concede button in one circumstance, and that is if he does mess up the combo.
Yeah, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as they say. I think Neyria here, just looking for some redemption in a match that doesn't necessarily matter as much as some of the other matches they've had to play, although they will want to win. They will be furiously trying to win, but also I think Neyria just wants to prove the point to all of us, because I've seen him playing on ladder. He is really good with this deck. It just had that moment under the lights at Seat Story where it just all fell apart, and I'm sure he wants to forget it forever, and this is his chance. He's doubling down. Either we forget it forever or we never forget it, based on the result of this next game.
This deck can struggle against the aggressive decks, but against Odd Warrior, again, it just shouldn't be a problem. I would imagine Neyria can just ignore everything that the Odd Warrior is doing and just play the game until he gets his combo pieces and then just win the game with them.
Interesting that he did still put a nod in here to aggro. He's going with a Giggling Inventor and a couple of Pyromancers. We've seen teams at HGG just go all in on the if it plays against aggro, we lose plan. And I actually like the if you play against aggro, we lose plan, because I think that no matter how hard you try to stop it from losing to aggro, it doesn't really stop it losing to aggro. Otherwise, it'd be the new Quest Rogue and everyone would be playing it, because Quest Rogue can sometimes find a win against aggro. This deck, I feel personally, you should just give up on trying to beat aggro entirely, let them have the free win, and concentrate on these control matchups. So with that in mind, he has got one or two, maybe cards, but he should still get this done.
Let's take a look, though, as we are starting. And it's difficult to even talk about the mulligans this game, because Neyria, I guess he wants to collect that combo as quickly as possible, and that's all he cares about.
Yep, the best way to do that is keep the card draw. That's what he's going to do. It's always counterintuitive that you throw away the good cards, then try and draw them back, but because you're drawing from such a thin deck, if you keep all your card draw, that's how Freeze Mage used to work as well.
Yep. And because Twilight's Call is so strong, it's such efficient card draw. After the Loot Hoarders have been played, then just shows that Loot Hoarders and Death Runner minions in general are just great for this deck to start up with.
Throws out the greetings course. Obviously, this is such a favoured matchup. Omega Zero will try and throw Taunt in the way going into the combo turn. That gives Neyria the maximum chance to mess it up. I think you are in, can one of the greatest players in the world mess up territory here?
And if I had to guess,
he shouldn't.
I would definitely say that Neyria won't be messing this up. In fact,
maybe get an Abomination?
Something like an Abomination can confuse things. We had a weird situation before where a player could have magnetized a Spider Bomb onto an Annoyatron and didn't, and as a result basically gave his opponent the win.
Well, that would have been fun.
Yeah. But it's just I don't think it matters how many taunts the Omega Zero summons. I would imagine that Neyria could do this combo easily past 4 Annoyatrons.
I'm sure he could too, and I think he almost wouldn't mind trying to prove that point, I suspect.
Just get some respect handed to him on a golden platter. I mean, come on, Omega Zero. Give me the hardest challenge you can. I got this. So,
looking at the hand here from China, just going past the 0% angle just for a moment.
Ooh, are you creeping into the 0.5%?
Yeah, I like to creep into the 0.5 sometimes. The armor they gain does not matter.
No.
At most, if you can get to over 64 health, it's one extra button press from Neyria. But what they can do is try and get their minions to do damage. We used to see this with Priest versus Quest Rogue. Sometimes you just draw your minions that have high attack and hit people with them. And so I imagine that China will be trying to take the highest attack minions they can that make sense. Don't forget they have got at least 7 turns to kill their opponents. The trouble is they've got to kill them with odd warrior cards. So this Dire Horn, for instance, here being a 5/5, even though it's a little slow, sure, maybe they can't deal with a 5/5, except Psychic Scream deals with everything. That is the problem of the deck when playing against it. Take the 5/5, hope there's no Psychic Scream, curve out through the hatchling into the Dire Horn, shut your eyes, hope there's no Psychic Scream, and hope.
But certainly the only way that they are going to win is pressure and hoping. So they're going to want to take the biggest, most mana-efficient minions that they can. Shield Bearer really does a lot of nothing.
Literally, yeah. Yeah, and here's 3.
And hey, they curve out now. They go Dire Horn Hatchling into Ornery Dire Horn. They're not horrible bodies. Maybe a Mega Zero can start to deal the damage to get this job done. As Neyria now has 4 combo pieces already. That's 1 Radiant Elemental, 1 Divine Spirit, 1 Vivid Nightmare, and 1 Test Subject. 4 out of 7.
There's only 39 more pieces to go.
Oh, 7. It's only 3 more cards needs to be drawn. They need the Topsy, they need the Boar, and they need either 1 Radiant or 1 Vivid Nightmare, and that's it.
And they've got Shadow Visions with which to find some bits later on if needed too. Tend to wait until you need your last part before casting it, just so you've got the maximum chance of finding the one you need. And here comes the curve. China inserting another 3 damage to the face.
Now, that's something Neyria is going to have to think about and try and defend himself from. No Psychic Screams have been drawn yet. Never mind.
And Psychic Scream has now been drawn. Ooh. Topsy, you thought I was burned then, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I'm just very excited about the fact that we're now 5 out of 7. It's just 1 Stone Tusk Boar, that's the hardest card to draw, and 1 Radiant or Vivid Nightmare, and then Ukraine has got it. Then they just need the mana.
And the APM.
And the APM. And they need to hope that there's good latency between Ukraine and China.
Yeah. Sure, it's absolutely fine. Decision time for China. Do you just want to go all in and hope there's no Psychic Scream? And my instinct is, even though I can see the Psychic Scream, so it makes it very difficult to have an instinct, that you just go for it.
Okay.
But we'll see. Binding Heal just undoing all the good work that China have done. Back to 30. Yeah. No other option here but to just keep slamming down the minions you've got. Just go for attack. There's not many ways that the priest can damage it. Yeah, 8-5. Put threat down, I like it.
Still no Psychic Scream available for Neyria yet, though he does draw Witchwood Piper, which is the second stone, which is the Stone Tusk Boar, guaranteed to draw. Oh, sorry, he can coin out Psychic Scream. My bad. Seems pretty vital.
Fairly important, but doing it early, of course, does mean that China get to rebuild early as well.
As I was saying, though, Witchwood Piper is guaranteed to draw the Stone Tusk Boar. Then Neyria just needs 1 Vivid Nightmare or 1 Radiant Elemental. They have a Shadow Visions in their hand. It's looking like on turn 9, he will be ready to go.
Yeah, and will he be dead? It doesn't look like he's going to be even close to dead by turn 9. Omega Zero just trying desperately to assemble attack points on the board.
Does Omega Zero have a special effect if played on 10 mana?
Yeah, it does 0.
Oh, okay.
He's not going to get to 10 mana. We're never going to find out. Now we're wondering if he needs to Shadow Visions this turn. The reason for that is if he can wait 1 more turn, if he's not going to do anything on turn 8 anyway, then he might as well have a chance of drawing into a spell, which means he doesn't Shadow Visions it. That's all he's thinking about here.
Well, Vivid Nightmare is the combo piece. That's
so he's good.
All he needs now is the Boar, which again, the Witchwood Piper will draw him. And he needs 9 mana.
Which he will have in 2 turns' time, because that's how numbers work. Making a bit of space in his hand. The more cards you have, the easier it is. Oh, sorry, the fewer cards you have, the easier it is. just to make that space. Ideally, you can get yourself down to 3 cards that aren't combo pieces or fewer. That's where he's easily managed. He might be down to 0 by the time the next turn's over.
Radiant Elemental, Vivid Nightmare, Test Subject, Divine Spirit, Vivid Nightmare, Topsy Turvy, and then play them all again and again.
You're getting excitable, Dan.
Again and again. Just wanted to sort of try and start to explain to any viewers that haven't seen the combo how it works, though it is a combo that is very, very difficult to explain all the way.
Yeah, basically, because of how Test Subject and Topsy Turvy interact, it means that you continuously get back your Topsy Turvies. You need more Test Subjects to test them on, so you make more of them with your Vivid Nightmares and such like, and off you go, basically.
I mean, it's the interaction between Vivid Nightmare and Topsy Turvy that I think is most vital, because you play one Vivid Nightmare on one Topsy Turvy, you end up getting 2 copies of it back, and you duplicate Vivid Nightmare every single time you keep doing it.
Yeah.
And with enough mana reduction, which you get from the multiple Radiant Elementals, the combo can go on for an infinite amount of time. And as you can see, Ukraine's hand only consists of those 7 cards that Nerea needs in order to do this combo.
Yeah, that's important. It's not important in this day and age when players have practiced it a lot, but originally, when you first do it, if you draw too many Vivid Nightmares off one of the test subjects, you burn the Topsy, which means you can't combo.
Very cheeky smile from Nerea there as he said something to his teammates. Yep, all right, boys, we are ready.
You've got the combo this time, Nerea. You are allowed to go for it. We'll let you. And he is going to prove at this point once and for all, you would think. So what can China put in the way? They know it's coming. Oh, nothing. Okay.
Well, they got a 2/6 Omega Defender that they could have put in the way. But no, it's time to let the sparks fly.
So first of all, you make your stuff cheaper. This is all mechanical at this point.
Yeah. Just the vital thing is, first the Divine Spirit has to hit the test subject, then it gets duplicated, and then the new test subject has to be topsy-turvied.
Yeah, keeping as many divine spirits, as few divine spirits as possible is a deal that people try and do. Otherwise, you fill up your hand too quickly. The Vivid Nightmares get out of control. But as you can see, this is absolutely under control here. Only got to make 164 attack ball.
This is the best sequencing as well, because now he's going to get multiple Vivid Nightmares back. It's vital that he plays one of these Vivid Nightmares on a Radiant first. Okay, I thought he didn't, because now everything's free. He has 0 mana left, so that was important.
And that's why so many people mess up, because there's so many little things like that you can do that just mess up the combo. Run out of mana, run out of Topsies, run out of something.
But there you go, 3 more Divine Spirits in the hand. With the several Vivid Nightmares, that's it. Ukraine don't need to do anything else to the test subject. If they don't want to, they're good to go ahead and win the game right now.
I know what Nerea wanted to do originally at Seat Story, but he hasn't done it today. Is like pretend that he'd failed when the rope was broken, because he's obviously done all the commands ages ago and knows it succeeded. But today, no messing around, just proving to us that he can do it. We knew that anyway.
For a second there, I did actually think that they'd run out of time, but then, yeah, of course, there is. We on spectator mode do watch on a very slight delay there.
And that is Ukraine taking down the series 3-1, going to 5 wins and 1 loss in the Swiss, with this 128 wins and 1 loss Boar coming in for the lethal. China gives it up, or I don't know if they gave it up, they probably walked away some time ago. They're making it look like that's an everyday occurrence.
Yeah, look at him, he's just like, yeah, okay, I'm bored now. I can do it, I've proven it. He's now, I think, the 3rd player to have achieved the topsy-turvy win condition combo in the Hearthstone Global game so far, so big congratulations to him. And there you go, Ukraine take it away.
Yeah, fairly plain sailing really through that series. Obviously, couldn't get it done with their Shaman, but even that they ended up getting somewhat close than we thought at first.
They did. It was only for the fact that old boys Shudderwock whiffed that they didn't even win that one. Let's take a look one more time, though, at the series that we just watched. And there you go. Trunks did manage to get that win that you were just talking about there with the Malitog Druid, but ultimately it wasn't enough to take down Ukraine.
No, and not much to add to that. We saw the Topsy, we saw the grind fest of the Odd Warrior, and obviously we saw Kalento just steering the Hunter straight through the finishing line and out the other side.
Yep, that's about it. It was just a very, very one-sided series, I think, for Ukraine. Worth saying, China have been doing a fantastic job throughout the Hearthstone Global Games so far. They still have 4 wins. They've still, I think, pretty much got the guarantee qualified. But it sounds like we are going to have a chat with Kalento from Team Ukraine. Kalento, congratulations. You didn't even need to play game number 5. Ukraine guaranteed their place in top 16. Are you gonna win this year? Can you hear me, Kalento? He can't hear me. Okay. I wasn't even sure because knowing Kalento, I kind of half expected him to just not reply.
Well, he didn't.
Let's take a look at the highlights from that series.
And there is Kalento, killing people with his massive board of minions. Despite the fact there's so many Shudderwocks out there, that was a desperation throw there from China. This was key in this game, nearly finding a way to kill off their own minions, ready to set up their Shudderwocks, but it wasn't enough. As you see there, China had all the available things they needed.
It was just a 1 in 3 for Ukraine, unfortunately, for it to go wrong, and it did go wrong. Only 1 Soul Knight had been played, 1 Zola, 1 Grumble. Soul Knight procced last. That's the way it goes sometimes.
And Shudderwock. We always see Shudderwock in these highlight packages because it does so much ridiculous stuff.
Shudderwock is a ridiculous...
Stormbringer not bringing the minions I thought it did, but still bringing plenty big enough minions to win the game under normal circumstances. However, Togwaggle Druid is not normal circumstances, and Naturalize does a lot of damage in fatigue.
Hadronox just sitting there saying, I used to be part of you, Druid. You used to play me.
Yeah. How'd that work out, Hadronox?
Hadronox. Tor Druid is still a reasonable deck. It's just not...
China waiting for 23 turns there for Demonic Project. They just turned into nothing and gave it up. And then Nerea getting it done. We all knew he could. We've memed him about it long enough. Now we have to stop, proving just how easily he can do this combo.
The thing is, it's difficult to learn the combo, but once you've learned it, the hard part isn't doing the combo itself. The hard part is surviving to that point in the game where you can do the combo. And once Nerea had done that, there was no question as to whether or not he'd be winning the game this turn.
I'll be nice to him in future. At least until I find something else to pick on.
That is a scary thought. On that note, we have several more games coming up today. I believe Derek is going to be joining me next for Belgium versus Spain. We had an interview with AKA Wonder on Monday. Spain were 3-0 and have since lost 2 series in a row. They need to win this one to stay in the tournament. It's important. Can they do it? We'll find out soon.